Yeah, okay, now it's recording. Okay, yeah, let's continue. So, yeah, doing this, it can help you understand the functions that you use and how they work under the hood. Besides, it can actually um, introduce new functions, new packages, new tools in a language that you didn't know about before, which are gonna ease your life. So you wanted to do some operation, you had to do it like in a manual way, but turns out there's a function that actually does all this for you know, but you didn't just know about it. So DSA can really help with this because solving problems, looking at people's answers can really help you like know and discover new technologies. And last is it's actually required by many companies at the interviews. So if you have heard about this contest that companies conduct to it's like a phase where a company just filters developers or filters candidates by a contest where they just solve data structure and algorithm problems. And the main reason actually companies do that is that the tool or the framework that you're going to be using is probably so popular, and if you don't know something you can easily google it, so many candidates will kind of have the same base knowledge, and this arises a problem with like which candidate to pick, like if they all know it, so which one should we pick? So it's really helpful for companies to use DSA contests to just filter candidates and just decrease the amount of people applying. Oops, yeah. And now I want to actually talk about, for all what I've said, it's not always used. So you might actually learn DSA, but turns out you don't actually use it in the end. And this does happen a lot of time because the algorithms, okay, I'm just going to be talking specifically about algorithms right now. It's really heavy topic, and building simple stuff, you don't require to use any complex algorithms. So let's assume you want to build like a notes application, okay? So you have to create like a note, have some list of nodes, maybe you want to upload it to the cloud. All of this doesn't require you to know any kind of algorithms, okay? They only come in handy when you're like building complex stuff. But basic knowledge for DSA, from my point of view, is really crucial because you're just gonna be understanding how these algorithms, how the code really works. Sometimes like when you learn a really high level language, you have to dig sometimes in the source code to understand how the function is implemented and how things actually do work under the hood. This gives you a basic understanding, or it gives you a basic understanding of how to use these tools. So it really comes in handy. You don't have to become an expert, but basic knowledge is really cool and gonna be helpful. So now we go to the third section. We're going to be talking about jobs. So basically we're going to be talking about these four topics: contests, like what are the contests, in what form they are usually conducted, what are the available offers that companies do provide, interviews, like how do they usually go, some common mistakes, and how to actually effectively search for a job. So basically contests is just like, you can say it's like a test where you have to solve some amount of problems. They're usually data structure and algorithms. Sometimes they also have a database like SQL problems that you have to solve, and you have to solve them in a specific amount of time. It's like 3 to 5 hours, and the time and the date are already specified because all the candidates should pass the contest at the same time. So this is actually how contests are conducted. And secondly, offers, there are like two different kind of offers. This I'm talking right now in the context of Russia. So regular offer is the most popular one. So you want to apply to a job, you found the job opportunity, you just texted the HR, she looked at your resume, you organized like a meeting, and like a week later you had this meeting and then you passed it. Now you have to pass the technical interview. You're gonna have like two interviews. Everyone is like after a week. So basically the whole process takes around like 3 to 4 weeks to apply, and this is so regular, and many companies do so. Okay, and the interviews like might differ in type. I mean, sometimes the something like HR interviews, they just communicate, like chat with you, they try to know more about you, why you want to work this job, like what's interesting for you, like all this like self-development question, you can say. And they're like data structure interviews where you just like solve a real a problem with the interviewer. It's just to test your skills in real time. And the third like type is technical interviews, where they discuss like stuff related about the job you're applying to. So like you're applying to a front-end job with like, I don't know, like React maybe. They start asking stuff about this tool that you're like gonna be working with. So most people usually prepare for the technical interviews. I mean the ones related with the topics or the stuff you're gonna be using at work, but don't pay that much to DSA and HR. And actually, the way you present yourself, the way you talk, the way you answer the questions is really crucial in the interview, because many candidates have the same base knowledge, but not all of them can represent it in an understandable way. So this is also important. Now we go to the next part, which is, so an interview usually, okay, so now you apply to the job, you like pass the HR stuff, and now we're gonna be doing like a technical interview, okay? Despite it's called a technical interview, coding is not everything. Why is that? So, as I said, you have to have the skill of how to represent the information, how to represent the thing that you know. So, the interview asks you a question, and you thinking like, how should I answer this? And the more clear, the more straight you put this idea, the more it's gonna be better. So it's not always good to code. Coding is really important. Yeah, I agree, but it's also important to know how to represent it. And this is usually important because at work you won't be working alone. You're gonna be working in a team. All right. So this means you're gonna have to be constantly communicating with your team members, discussing topics, discussing features that you want to implement. But maybe decomposing a big task into smaller ones, and this requires communication. All right. So this also is tested on the technical interview phase. Like how can you express an idea? So this is also important. So this also should be taken in account. And last but not least is, nobody knows everything, all right? So if you got asked some question that you don't know in the interview, it's totally okay to say like, I'm not sure about this, maybe I can say that. Or if you like have no idea about it, you can just say like, I don't know about this. Why? Because if you actually got asked a question that you don't know the answer to, and you just started saying some nonsense instead of answering the question because you don't know the answer, it's actually going to be worse. So when this actually means that when you don't know something, instead of saying you don't know, you just pretend that you know the answer, which is bad. Because as I said, in work, we usually communicate. So when some question pops up at work and someone asks you something, you just start saying nonsense instead of saying, I don't know. And it's totally okay to not know something. Like, nobody knows everything. So if you got asked these kind of questions, it's more preferable to just say that, okay, I know this parts, but I don't know the rest. Just say what you want. Say what you know. All right. Don't try to like assume stuff. Or okay, if you're gonna assume, say that you're assuming. Like don't pretend as if like you know it. All right. So this is a really important point. And now this takes us to the next part, is how to actually search for jobs. All right. So you have been interested in some language and you want to search for jobs. You want to work with this language, but it's unlikely that you will find a job where they like only use this language. Like if you don't use anything else, no tools, no other languages, no databases, no etc. Like we're just gonna be using this language. It's unlikely to find any kind of these jobs. It's usually used with some tools, with some other instruments that actually help to build a product. All right. So knowing a single thing won't help you find a job. So a really good practice is to search for jobs with higher ranks. So you want to find a junior developer job, but you search for senior jobs. Why? You won't be applying probably, but it's like analyzing the market. You look at the market, you see, okay, people are learning these languages, people are learning these tools. So usually when they ask you to know this, they also ask you to know that. So you start building the map, the like, it's not the world map, but like a bigger picture. You start seeing the bigger picture of how the job is, how the job opportunity is actually written. What tools do they require you to know, and all that kind of stuff. So after this phase of analyzing the market, you can now confidently start learning stuff because you know now what you need to learn. And when you already know it, you can just, like, it's gonna be a matter of time. You're gonna be learning, you're gonna learn this stuff and then just start working with it. So it's just, like a really cool practice that you should use to analyze the market around you. And secondly, I highly recommend you apply to different jobs, even if you think you might not get accepted, because at the beginning, you don't have prior work experience, and many jobs might actually require that you have working experience. But at the interview, when you reach the interview part, they can actually accept you. So this is why I'm saying, like, apply to a job, like to any job that you feel interested in. If you know the tools, you know the stuff, just apply, okay? Just don't be afraid to get rejected. It's totally fine. No one lands a job from the first interview or from the first job application. There's usually like tens and hundreds of applications until you find the one. So just continue applying. And now we'll go to the fourth section, which is progress, how to constantly improve yourself and learn new stuff. So the first thing I want to be talking about is learning. Like, how do you learn a programming language? How do you learn a programming tool, like some instruments that are used with the programming language? For example, like, let's talk about Git. How can I use Git? Okay. And a really good practice is to build something with it. You cannot just learn something for the sake of learning it, okay? Because most of the stuff out there are really like big and might sometimes become complex. So you want to learn a programming language, you cannot just learn just reading documentation, watching some YouTube videos. It's not going to be the best practice ever, because you will read, you will see that, but you don't actually use it. Okay, so you don't have this critical thinking when you're coding on it, So building projects is really useful to implement what you know. Sometimes it's actually useful to learn something new. Like, you want to learn something, so you just scratch the surface with it, with a YouTube video, let's say, and just to know how it's used. And then you go just build a project with it, to actually go in depth. You cannot just try to maybe read books, read documentation about a tool just for the sake of reading. You have to seek something. You have to, I want to do this, so I'm gonna search in the documentation for this this section, for this function. How can I do this? How can I do that? So this why will only arise when you're building a project, because you're gonna get stuck. You're gonna face some difficulties, and you're gonna have to find a way to solve it. So this is actually why reading can really help with doing things like this. YouTube is not the best source sometimes to learn new stuff, because it's usually just scratching the surface, so you want to actually understand in depth how everything is working. So yeah, just it can just help you, like, give like a kickstart, just to start learning something. But then I recommend, like, you go build some projects with it, and building projects will just take you to the next steps, like reading documentations and maybe even reading books about any topic. And why I'm actually saying reading is important, people say that, programming is just copy paste. You just Google some stuff, copy paste from Stack Overflow, but it's not always the case. When you're building something, sometimes the problems you're facing are so specific with the task you're doing, all right? And you cannot just find the answer on the internet, or maybe you can find, but like waste a lot of time searching. Maybe you can try some AI stuff like ChatGPT, etc. But if the problem is really specific to your project, it's unlikely someone will be able to answer your question, but you. So this is why you have pay attention to the ability of reading. Okay, so when you want to learn something new, just try to read more about it so that you can have a really good background on it. And last but not least is just doing things one by one. All right, you want to learn. So for example, you search for JavaScript jobs, let's say, and you found that they use these tools, for example, like tool X, tool Y, tool Z, and so on. Now you want to learn these tools. Sometimes it's bad to try to learn them all at once, because every one of them is like a big complex, maybe like, big field, big topic that you have to dig into. So you cannot just learn things in parallel. I highly recommend that you just take your time with every tool, like spend like more than 1 week, like using it, to actually understand how it works under the hood, like in depth, not like in full depth, but have enough knowledge to talk about it and use it. And when you have this basic knowledge, an implementation for it will come in your mind, so you cannot just think about creating something new if you don't have already the basic knowledge. So yeah, so a quick example, like people wouldn't have thought about flying cars if we don't actually have cars. Like the idea of course came first, and then people are thinking of making flying cars. It's always like evolving. Nothing comes from scratch, from nothing. It always has like a background. Now we're gonna be talking about teamwork. So this field, programming, unfortunately many people just try to spend like a lot of time just coding by themselves, like doing projects and etc. But it's better to work in a team. Why? So the first thing I would say is like, it's actually, this is how things are done. Okay, nobody builds something by himself. Big stuff are built in a team. And communication skills is really essential, because you won't know everything, and instead of trying to learn every single tool, every single framework, every single language, you can just like work with someone who already knows how to do this thing. Like you want to build an application, but unfortunately you don't have experience in mobile development, let's say. Okay, so you can spend like 6-7 months just learning this tool to finish your application, or you can have just asked one of your friends, like to work with you and make this project. So it's really helpful, and it makes you actually focus on what you're doing. So I'm gonna be doing this task, like this, working in this field, in this topic, and I'm gonna be putting all my effort in it. Trying to do everything will actually distract you, and you won't actually get anywhere, because you have been just distracted doing different things. But while working in a team, it's just way easier to get somewhere. And this actually takes us to the question of where to find a team. Like, okay, really interesting presentation. Like, how do I find someone to work with? Well, actually, most of us are students, okay? And every single person around us is actually coding, all right? So a really good thing is just to ask someone, like ask some of your friends just to like do a simple project. Like you're interested in something, some of your friends are like interested in something similar. Maybe you can do something together. This simple way actually to start a team. You don't have to build a team of like 10 to 20 persons. No, you just have to be just working. Like a team of any amount of people. The most important thing is that you're like working together. Like sharing ideas. Like coding together, etc. So it's really important. And now we're gonna be talking about the last thing, which is time management. So now we want to all learn all this cool stuff, and you're gonna be learning them one by one. But unfortunately, we are like studying. You're like a student at university, and you have like thousands of other habits and like life stuff that you have. So the answer to time management in simple terms, I can say it's just consistency. Okay, you don't have to be coding 10 hours a day, 20 hours a day. Okay, it's just being consistent on doing it. So every day I'm just gonna be working on this side project. So like I have university, I have all these assignments, but every day I have like 2 hours, like 3 hours to work on this project, just to learn something new. And this is actually all what it takes to become really good at something. You don't have to learn a single tool in like 3 days. So I'm gonna be spending like 20 hours a day. I'm gonna be like, like I'm gonna be putting all my time into it. You can do this like if you're like I really have free time, but it's not a good practice, to like skip classes, do like skip other activities to do a single one, because real success is actually balancing them together. Every person like can go to the gym every single day and do nothing but the gym. But it's hard to go to the gym while you go to university, while you also have other obligations. Like when you're trying to do more than one thing together, this is when it gets complicated. So I just recommend you just specify like amount of time that you put into this learning habit, the thing that you want to do, and just continue doing it for a really long period of time, like months, years, and you'll just see the results after a while. Okay, and you have just to pick something that you're gonna be working on. As in the previous slide, we were talking about here like one by one. So yeah, just pick a single thing that you want to do, work on it consistently for a period of time, and you'll just see the result after a while. Maybe it's gonna take, as I said, like days, months, years. Like it's totally fine. Knowledge and success, they don't come like in a night. So being an experienced developer, it takes time. You have to build different projects, work in different companies, you implement different features so that you can have this bigger picture, of how things really work. So yeah, this are some resources for this presentation. So this is the GitHub profile. This is just some guy's repo to customize your GitHub profile, and just some useful DSA links, just like to practice and improve your skills. And this links for jobs. This is a list of some popular companies that I highly recommend you check their job opportunities. They usually have this weekend offer thing that I've been talking about. Usually only big companies conduct these kind of offers, because you can say the process, many candidates apply, and these companies usually need many developers. They're big companies, they have like dozens of projects, dozens of things that they have to implement, and they need many developers. So they do this weekend offer thing a lot to hire developers really fast. They don't have like a month to hire a single developer. If you can hire him like in a week, that's gonna be like more efficient. So, and last link is just the website I've been using to create memes. It's a really cool website. It was like so intuitive to create ones. And yeah, that's all for today's presentation. I wish it was useful. So if any one of you has questions, you can say what you have. So, second. Someone is raising his hand. Yeah, Dusur. All right. So, yeah, Muhammad.
Yeah, now in university, we're learning Python. And in the same time, we have to do a project. Me and my friends make a big project, program like Discord, you know. Now I should learn JavaScript and Python. That's good or not? It will make a problem for me.
So you are working in a team, or like currently?
No, no, in a team.
You're working in a team. So you have like different stacks. Like you do Python, your friend do JavaScript, or like you're all doing the same stack.
No, no, no. The same.
So you're all doing the same.
JavaScript.
Uh-huh. Well, I suggest maybe one of you like pick the JavaScript thing, and spend time with it, because if you're gonna be all learning JavaScript, it's useful. Okay, I highly recommend JavaScript. It's popular, but the thing is like, if you're gonna be all learning it, then you're gonna be spending more time learning it, and nobody's gonna be working on this backend thing, like in Python. You might do it in parallel, but it actually like depends on the team. But I suggest like some one of you just pick it and just work with it. Maybe actually two of you. Because that the one working with JavaScript, he doesn't write everything by himself. So like he has like someone working with him. So like let's say you're three coding Python, so we're gonna be working on this backend thing together, and maybe two of you are gonna be doing the JavaScript thing. So just to distribute the load.
In our project, we don't have Python. We don't use it.
Then use JavaScript with what?
Yeah, I'm talking about it's okay to learn two languages in the same time.
Yeah. It's totally okay. It's totally okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. it was a mistake. Want to talk about yourself a bit. So Ahmed, yeah. So your questions. So what year? Like I'm a fourth year student at Kazan Federal University, and I'm mainly currently coding Golang. Previously, I coded in Java, in Ruby, some JavaScript also, and did some blockchain stuff using Solidity, building some smart contracts. And after all this, I just decided to like go coding Golang. I like the language more than all the others, and just decided to like put my time on it. So yeah. Okay. Some front-end development books. Um, well, I can't actually say like name some books right now, but in our group chat, I'll be actually sending some links to articles and books that I recommend you have a look at. Because I cannot just name something right away, so I just make some research and send some links. You're welcome. So yeah.
Okay,
Hmm?
if no one is speaking, I think those of you raising your hands, you can just turn on your mic to ask your question. Because I think Ahmed was trying to say something.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, so I have a similar question to Mohammed, the guy before me. So I started learning Python in a course, I think 3 months before university started, and now they're giving us Java as well. And also started reading Working Algorithms. Do you know the book? Yeah. So I'm not sure what to do right now. Do I go with Java only on a superficial level just to stay with the university and go deeper in Python? Or do I just leave Python and go to Java? And do I learn algorithms simultaneously or not?
So you're a first year student, right?
Yeah,
Okay. So first, I suggest you stick with Python. Python is like widely used, especially if you're like interested in stuff like AI and machine learning. And secondly, on the second year, you're gonna be having courses for specific subjects. So to dig and dive more in a specific subject. So you wanna do Python, so we're gonna be like Python course that you're gonna be only doing Python in. But one thing that I want to highlight about Java is that you're gonna be having Java for 2 years, and after this, so like this is just a compulsory course, right? So you're gonna be
yeah,
having Java for 2 years, alright? And on the second year, there's also gonna be an additional course that he can pick. One of them is Python, and there's also a Java course. So the good thing about Java is that if you pick to, like put your time in Java, after these 2 years, you'll have a really good experience, because I've been doing Java in university for 2 years, and on the second year, this additional course, you'll be actually building projects, and Java, to be honest, if you want to learn more about backend stuff, Java is a really good choice, because Python is mainly used in machine learning and AI stuff, all right? But when it comes to building servers, Java is more widely used actually out there. And about data structure and algorithms, yes, and you don't have to like dig in depth in it, because on the second semester you're gonna have a subject like data structure and algorithms at university. So it's gonna be enough if you just like know the basic stuff, solve some
yeah.
random problems, and One thing also about data structure and algorithms, there are, you can actually, like there are actually books of how to do problem solving, of how to do some like how to prepare to contests and so on. They're actually useful. I've read like two. I didn't actually finish them, but the idea is you can maybe try something like this, like reading a book, but solving problems is like the more important thing. So if you solve like a problem or two like a week, something like this, it's not too much. Like maybe with different difficulties, like easy and medium problems, it will make your mind fresh with the DSA thing. And on the second year, when you have this subject, you already be ahead, because you already know the basic stuff and maybe even some more of the advanced stuff. So yeah, just stick with DSA and Python, keep it, like just for Java, just stick with the university at the moment and try to learn Python beside, like a self-learning thing.
Yeah.
And DSA is just on your free time. Like if you have free time, you're like done with Java, done with Python, maybe do some DSA stuff.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Okay. So what about third year courses? I heard what actually. So it actually depends on what courses do you pick, and what actually you're planning to work with. So the third year case, no, they are not useless. They just give you a bigger picture of how programming actually works, because the first 2 years you're doing nothing but coding. You're just coding, nothing else. So the third year's course starts to introduce how team works. Like if you're working in a company, companies use some methodologies, to organize work, like Agile, Scrum, etc. And they'll start talking about that stuff. Maybe how to organize, the flow of requests between servers, between applications. This is why you do this UML diagram stuff. So it's kind of, maybe it's not gonna improve you in front end development. Yeah, okay, if you're talking about this, yeah, for sure it won't be that useful, but it'll give you a bigger picture of how big projects are actually built. So you can take it as just learning something new. You don't have to dig in depth, do everything they like learn in depth all these subjects, but it's gonna be enough to scratch the surface with the curriculum. It's gonna be a good background for you over these topics. Welcome. Okay, so
Alright. All right. So I also wanted to add to what Ahmed said. So basically, the first year and the second year we teach you how to write code. You have to understand how programming works. But in the third year, you start to think. The higher you go, you start to think like a manager. Don't forget that you are studying software engineering, not computer science. And this means that you need to know the managerial part of things. So some of us actually aspire not to be senior software engineers. Some people are going to be project managers. There are a lot of career opportunities for you as a software engineering student. And those career opportunities, some of them actually require you to know things like people management. You are going to work in a team of more than 50 people. How do you manage these people such that they do not burn out and that all of them are working effectively and you are getting the results as a company? So in the third year and the fourth year, you'll be learning things that deals with this. So they are not totally useless. The reason why you hear a lot of people tell you they are useless is because these guys have found jobs and the drawing diagrams and managing people already becomes like stressful. And at this point, it becomes like it's disturbing them. So but I think it's a very good skill if you are thinking in the long run, because everybody wants to be a manager at some point, right? So yeah.
Yeah, Evans, thanks for the add up. It's actually, as you just said, managing like projects and managing people is a really important part at any job. So this is actually why university gives us like a taste of it before we actually go to the market. So if no one has any more questions, I think that's gonna be it for today's seminar. I really wish it was helpful and I added something new to like to you, like you learned something and it was helpful. And yeah, thank you all for joining and wish you a good day.